Hey everyone, so I wanted to give you an overview here of how to answer some of the stimulus-based multiple choice questions that you might see on the AP exam, as well as give you an overview of some of the different tools that you'll have at your disposal in the Bluebook software, in the app that you're going to be taking your AP exam in. So on my desktop, I went ahead and opened up my Bluebook testing app. I'm going to sign in here with my College Board account. I can remember my password. All right, that looks like it worked. So again, it's really important that you guys know how to log into your testing app, right? Please make sure that you know your password, that you get any technical issues like that sorted out before the day of the exam, right? You will not have time on May 11th to troubleshoot and tech support. The exam's going to start right away, and you don't want to be shut out in the cold for that. All right, so I'm going to go in here. Right, and your screen should look similar to mine. Notice at the top it's going to tell me a couple days before my AP exam that's going to be ready for me, that I can go in, right, make sure that I'm set up for that. If your exam does not appear by 5 days before, right, please let me know. Send me an email, find me in class, find me in the hallway, tell me that you don't see it so I can track down, right, what any issues might be. All right, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to click on test preview, right? Just to give you a sense of what the questions are going to look like. All right, so notice this section is untimed. On the test day, you will see the timer, and I'll show you where that will be so you can kind of keep track of how you are progressing through the multiple choice and the writing sections. Okay, this is also going to show me some of the different technology that I have at my disposal. So I'm going to go in here, right, select my AP exam. Right, AP World History. All right, so it's going to take a moment here to set up the test. Again, right, make sure that you've logged into Bluebook before so that you can troubleshoot any technical issues. All right, so this is very similar to what you guys will see on exam day. The directions are exactly word for word what you're going to see. The only difference is, right, as it tells you, this app preview has fewer multiple choice questions than the exam and is untimed. All right, remember, you're going to start the exam, section 1, part 1. The first thing you're going to see is 55 multiple choice questions in 55 minutes. Each of the questions is going to give you a stimulus, a reading, a map, a chart, a graph, some sort of image, maybe something to look at or read. All right, you're going to choose the best of the 4 answer choices that follow. These questions are going to be grouped. You're going to get the same passage or stimulus for 2 or 3 or 4 questions. So it's worth it to take some time and figure out how to decipher that stimulus question. Okay. Now notice, right, you can go back and forth between questions. You can skip ahead, skip back. If you know a question, skip it, come back, whatever. The clock at the top is your timer. When on the exam day, that's going to start at 55 minutes and count down. It'll turn red when you have 5 minutes. Right, you're not going to get much other heads up other than that. So it's really important that you're managing your time on this. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. All right, now when I get my first stimulus-based multiple choice question, okay, I'm going to look here and notice it says questions 1 through 3 refer to the following passage. All right, and they give me this reading and a couple of questions that follow. And this is going to be the same, right? If I click next, notice, right, the same passage, I get another question, same passage, another question. The next ones, questions 4 through 7, are all about this chart. Okay. So you can see how your questions are going to be grouped together. Okay. Questions 8 through 10 give me, right, a passage. So notice all of them are going to be grouped by a question. So I can navigate down here at the bottom as well. Notice, right, I can click here, pick a question. Let's go to question 11, see what that is, right, another passage. So just to give you a sense of how to navigate through, you can either hit the next button, the little menu at the bottom, and take you directly to a question. All right, now, just to get you through some of the technology. All right, let's say that I want to come back to this question, right? I've read this passage, I've answered my question, but I'm not sure, and I maybe want to review it if I have time. I'm going to click the little mark for review and turn that flag red. Before I go to submit my test, it's going to say, hey, you flagged this question. Do you want to go back and review it? If you have time, this is a great way, right? And notice it's going to pop up here as well at the bottom. Give me a visual clue that, hey, this is a question I was unsure of. I might want to go back and fix that. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and I'm going to unmark this. Take a moment here. I'm going to have you read through the passage. You may want to pause the video, take a minute, maybe, right, 30 seconds to a minute. Just skim this passage. Read it kind of quick, right, and see what you gain from it. All right? Then what we'll do is we'll jump into this question and say, which of the following best summarizes a claim made in this passage? All right. Hopefully you paused, read the prompt, the stimulus, and now we're going to jump into this question. All right. Which of the following best summarizes a claim made in the passage? Notice right the phrase best. These multiple choice questions are designed where there's probably more than one correct answer. There's probably multiple things in here that are true. We just have to figure out which one is the best given this stimulus. Okay? Now, as I'm reading this stimulus, right, there may be some things in here that I want to mark up. I may want to take notes here. Using the exam app makes it pretty easy. So I'm going to click on the little highlighter up here in the top right that says annotate. Right, and notice it says make a selection. Select some text, press annotate. Okay, so as I'm reading this, all right, right away I'm struck with, okay, we've got clearly a military situation here. The king in his tent, one of his officers came to warn him about an approaching Muslim army. Okay, so I'm going to highlight that approaching Muslim army part, click annotate. All right, so I wanted to make sure, right, that I understood that this is about an army. So I'm going to highlight Muslim army, click annotate, and say, right, notice it's going to highlight it and tell me I can type in something. So I'm going to say, military strength. All right, I'm just trying to give my first impressions about what's in this stimulus. What do I first notice? What stands out to me? All right, I'm going to click save. All right, now my annotation's there and I can click on it. Okay. Right now, I may decide, you know what, this isn't worth it. If I click delete, right, it's going to ask me, are you sure? I'm going to say, yep, that's fine. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay. So let me go back, though, put that annotation back in because I think that's really going to be key to answering this question. So military strength. All right, and again, the more you practice with sort of reading documents, the better off you're going to be. Right, so this might be helpful just to give you a sense of what the tools are in this software as well. So I'm going to click save. All right, notice it highlights it up here above it for me as well. Okay. So right now, right, we've got this a sense of a Muslim army, religious warfare, combat. Right. The other thing that I may want to note here, right, is the year. Right? Notice the year at the bottom tells me, right, that my right, I just want to notice the year. So I'm going to highlight and it's 1350. Okay, so now I've got a sense of when this question is taking place in context. This is probably coming right from Unit 1. If I know my topics, I can think, okay, we talked in Unit 1 about the world of Islam, Dar al-Islam, in topic 1.2. Notice, right, I'm trying to just make whatever connections I can to the content, right? This is going to help my brain sort of fire and make sure that I know what's going on. Okay, so now I'm thinking, right, about the spread of Islam through trade and military expeditions. I'm thinking about, right, universal belief systems. I'm thinking about all of these things that I'm making these connections and sort of free associating. All right, so now when I go over to read, I've read my passage and I've annotated, right, I've got this idea of military strength and religious warfare from 1350. Already I can see some answers that I know aren't going to work, right? Question A, or answer A, tells us Ethiopian rulers were nomadic herders. Again, right, does that factor in anywhere in this passage? Right, there's nothing in here that tells me I should be paying attention to that. So notice, I'm going to use this here to cross out answer choices that I think are wrong. So when I click on the ABC here with a slash through it, right, brings up this menu. I'm just going to cross that out so I know to get rid of that one. Okay. Right. I'm going to go ahead and cross out, right, Ethiopian rulers were tolerant of other religious groups, right, because here we've got this idea of military conflict. Does it make sense that we're talking about toleration, right? No, right? We know that we're dealing with a combat situation. So I'm going to just do that. All right. I might get rid of that one. So now I've narrowed it down, right? Notice all I'm trying to do here is narrow down what I think is the answer. All right. And when you click on the answer, notice it's going to highlight, I think B's right or D right. The little green bubble is going to tell you, or the blue bubble is going to tell you which one you are choosing as your answer before you click next. Okay. Now, as I'm reading, right, I don't see anything about, right, advanced weaponry, right? Ethiopian rulers were militarily powerful because they had access to advanced weaponry. I don't see that in this one, so I'm going to go with B, right? Make that my next answer, my answer here. All right, so I click on next. Notice, right, it tells me when I click at the bottom, question number 1's been answered. Okay, right, so I'm good. Again, if I want to go back, flag this one for review, I can do that, but at least I have answered it. All right, and when I move on to question 2, all right, notice my annotations carry over. Anything I mark on this document or this stimulus, right, is going to carry over, and that's helpful for me. All right, so again, anything I've read in this, I don't need to reread the stimulus. I've already got a pretty good sense of what it can say, right? And I can go, and I know the answer here is probably C, that religious differences often contributed to conflict between states, right? This is all about military activity, Muslim army versus the Ethiopian army, right? And so I know I'm good to go, right? Remember, I know that Ethiopia is the Christian empire in Africa. That's from topic 1.5. So all of a sudden, right, I'm making these connections. And so Islam versus Christianity, boom, answer is going to be C, ready to move on. Let's take a look at, I'm going to skip question 3, and let's go to this chart, right? And practice maybe answering a question here with a chart. All right, so I'm going to pause, give you a second here to look at the chart. Again, use the annotation tool if you want to mark up anything, and I'll walk you through how I would do this. All right, so if I was to annotate this document, right, first thing I'm going to notice, right, we're talking about clove prices in Southeast Asia. All right, so first thing I'm going to maybe want to make note of here is that that is a direct link here to our time period as well. All right, so 1580 to 1850. All right, so again, notice I'm trying to focus on time period so I can ground my knowledge in a topic here. All right, so this is right, units 4 and 5. We're dealing with Southeast Asia, right? So I already know that, right, this is unit 4, maritime empires. Again, my brain is starting to make these connections to topics that I know about. Okay, right? I'm going to save that annotation, right? So I know, right? Again, it pops up and tells me what my annotation here is. Southeast Asia, right? I'm going to make a note here, right? That this was colonized by the Dutch. Right? The idea of the Spice Islands, that's something I might want to like link here. Again, just trying to make those connections, see what my brain comes up with. If my annotation's wrong, remember, I can always click on it. If I come up with a better idea later and click delete, but I'm going to kind of leave this here for right now. All right, so now, right, I've got a better sense of where this is taking me, what this is telling me. All right, now, notice the question here only asked me to focus on the first part of the chart, right, for the period between 1580 and 1650. Okay, so that's really only the first couple of sections here on the bottom of this graph. Really, it's the first 4 sets of columns. Okay, and, right, notice they give me some notes here that I might want to pay attention to. Dutch merchants are granted a monopoly on clove trade by the rulers of the Moluccas Islands, and, right, they begin to enforce that monopoly. So, which of the following most directly caused the price fluctuations shown in the chart? Again, we're only concentrating on those first couple of bars in the graph, right? The first really 4 sets of columns, right? What's our trend, right? They go up in Southeast Asia. They really fluctuate, though, in Amsterdam. So there's 2 different prices we got to pay attention to, right? They go up and then immediately back down. So what are my options here? Well, nothing really here mentions, right, right, the replacement of traditional landed elites by commercial elites, right? So I'm going to go here again and cross out answers I think are wrong, right? There's really nothing in here about, right, commercial elites or anything like that. This is strictly sort of focused on pricing and resources. Same here, right? The Mughal Empire. Yeah, we're in the same area, right? But we're really talking Southeast Asia, not South Asia. The Mughal Empire is in India, so I'm going to get rid of that one. All right. Notice right now I'm starting to come down a little bit more, right, in terms of my answers here. Really, I'm going to narrow it down. Even if I get to this point, get a 50-50, right? Even if I can narrow it down to 2 choices and pick which one I think is going to work, right? That's better, right? You want to make sure you answer every question. Do not leave any blankets to your benefit, even if you get them wrong, to at least attempt every question, right? I don't see anything in here about Caribbean plantation economies, right? This really isn't telling me anything about cash crops like sugar or tobacco, right? Enslaved people's labor, right? I don't know that that factors in here. D, the intensification of competition among European states over the control of maritime trade. Seems like it fits, right? I think that really goes in. Notice, right? I already talked about Unit 4, maritime empires and trade routes. I think the answer is D. Best answer. I'm pretty confident in that. I'm going to go with it. Okay. So again, hopefully this gave you a good review of not only, right, how to read a chart or a stimulus and what to do, also some of the tools that are available to you in the Bluebook software. All right. So go practice. If you have questions, again, please let me know. Make sure you log into Bluebook, solve any technical difficulties before the exam date. I will put together another video about your writing as well. So look for that here coming up in a few days, but I wanted to at least post this for people who wanted some review on how to answer multiple choice. See you guys later.